science class. Today we want to look at non-renewable energy. In our last edition, we considered renewable energy, and we said that there are energies that after being used, they can be reused again. But today we want to look at non-renewable energy. Non-renewable energy are sources of energy that cannot be replaced. That is the word you should see, that cannot be replaced once they are used. So when these energies are used and they cannot be reused again, we call them non-renewable energy. Example of non-renewable energy include the fossil fuel. The fossil fuel include oil. When I mean oil here, we are looking at crude oil. We have natural gases and coal. So natural gases are made of a compound or a gas known as methane. Methane is an hydrocarbon which is highly flammable. When we say highly flammable, it means if it comes in contact with light, it can explode. So it is highly flammable, and these are what we call the natural gas. So when those gases are used like that, they cannot be reused. We equally have coal. Coal is a hard black substance made from carbon. And how is this coal formed? They are plant and animal origin that has been under the earth's surface for thousands of years. And they remain there, disintegrate, and become dark carbon. They are very hard, and they are being used today in so many functions, like generating electricity, making our roads, and in other technologies they are being used. It is a natural resources that is buried beneath the ground, I've said that, and have been dug out for use. If you go to some places like a city in Nigeria called Enugu, you see that this coal is being used to make the railroad where train passes. It is used in generating electricity. It is used in making our roads, the coal tar, you see, they are being made from this product. But the problem with them is that when you refine them, they cannot be reused again. Then we have the nuclear power. This produces energy when an unstable material like uranium is splitted. When uranium is splitted, it produces nuclear power. The process we call nuclear fission. It is a highly technological way of using energy. Though it has its advantage, and it equally has its disadvantages. Let us look at the advantage of this nuclear power. One, it is quite cheap, but expensive to build the power station. Using of this is very cheap because they are gotten from nature. But building of the plant is something that is ranging in billions of dollars. So some people, some countries cannot even afford it. It does not generate greenhouse gases. Greenhouse gas is a very poisonous gas that destroys and depletes the ozone layer. But this particular plant does not produce that greenhouse effect. That makes it very important to, or very easy to use. It does not pollute our environment, as I've said earlier. It limits emission or radiation. As such, pollution is curtailed. Those are the few advantages of nuclear power. Let us look at the disadvantages. Nuclear power produces radioactive wastes. And these radioactive wastes are very dangerous. For example, it can cause mutation. Mutation is depletion of some chromosomes in the body. That is to say that if you inhale this gas for a prolonged time, it can lead to deformation of the body. Most of the times you see people burning with one hand, one eye, one leg, things of that nature. It's as a result of inhaling these radioactive substances. So they are very dangerous to the system. Another one is nuclear meltdown can occur in the power station. We experienced something like this in Japan, where there was a meltdown of nuclear power, and this led to a lot of explosion in the environment. It leads to the death of many crops, many plants. In fact, things were not working well again because of this radiation. So when the radiations are melted, it becomes a disaster. So those are the disadvantages of using a nuclear power. Now let's look at advantages of non-renewable. Because everything in life has a two-phase. There's a positive phase and there's a negative phase. Now let's look at the advantages of using a non-renewable energy. One, it is cheap. It is a cheap source of energy. I told you about coal. You just dig the earth and get out those things, and they can be used for making coal tar and roads. They can be used in generating electricity. They can be used in various ways. They are just cheap. They are just there if you can dig them out. So that makes it very cheap. Another advantage is the petroleum products. You can see that a lot of things we use are gotten from petroleum products. Petroleum products, if it's fractionally distillated, can produce kerosene, which is used for our stove, can produce fuel, which is used for our cars, our generators, and so on and so forth, can produce diesels, which are used in our bigger engines. The waste products can be used as wax, where we have our candle wax and other waxes. They are produced from petroleum products. So you can see that the advantage of this is very good. Now, why are they non-renewable? Take for instance, you put a fuel in your car and drive. Are you going to tell me that after driven for a long time, you can recollect that fuel again? No, it cannot be reused. That is why it is a non-renewable, though it serves greater purposes. Now let's look at the disadvantages. They are the major causes of pollution. If you go to the area of Nigeria known as the South-South or the Niger Delta area, you see that there are some communities that they cannot go on fishing again. They cannot go on farming because the entire environment is being polluted. And when this pollution occurs, mostly pollution in air, it will result into diseases like respiratory diseases. We have catarrh, we have asthma, we have bronchitis. These are common diseases that can be inhaled if the environment is being polluted, especially by petroleum products. They pollute our environment severely. And when the environment is polluted, it will deplete the ozone layer. In your JS2 and JS3, you'll be top ozone layer. Ozone layer is this layer that protects us from infrared of the sun. They protect us from direct heat from the sun. So when this layer is being destroyed, it will cause the skin to be exposed to direct radiation, which will cause skin cancer. Most of you have heard of skin cancer. It affects mostly the people we call albino. Have you ever seen an albino patient? The people that their skin is having a different color. So when this radiation gets to them, it burns their skin as a result of what? Pollution from our petroleum product. So it's a disadvantage. It can lead to crude oil spillage. Apart from the crude oil spillage, take for instance a tanker loaded with petroleum product fell on the ground and those contents flow into our farmland. It will cause the farmland to be infertile. The farmland will not be fertile again. The crops will die. And when they eventually flow into our water, the sea organisms like the fishes will all die off because they will cause starvation of oxygen. They will all die off. So that becomes a disadvantage. Now let's look at the implication of misuse of this renewable energy. When energy is not useful, when it's misused, what happens? Remember, we are looking at non-renewable. So when you waste them, it is gone and gone for good. It must be used carefully, knowing that once it is finished, it cannot be replaced. So this one is just a common sense. If you are given water in a drum, and there's no other source of getting the water, and you begin to fetch the water and pour on the ground, when it finishes, it is gone. Let's look at the second one. Alternative sources of energy, such as sun, wind, and this so forth are used. So that's the implication. Without sunlight, you and I cannot survive. Why? Because plant depends on sun. And 99% of everything we eat, 99% of our food is originated from plants. So if there are no sunlight for plant to photosynthesize in order to produce this food, then we'll starve to death because everything depends on plants. So that is the implication of misusing those energies. Now let me leave you with this homework. 1. What is a non-renewable energy? I want you to define that. Give me 3 examples of non-renewable energy sources. Then, this question 3, draw a table to show the advantage and disadvantages of coal. Let me see the advantage and disadvantages of coal. Oil. When I talk of oil, I told you we are looking at crude oil and nuclear power. I want you to do that and let me have the answers. If you have any difficulties in reading or in understanding the topic, feel free to ask questions and I'll be there to give you the solution. Thank you very much.